Guardians of the Galaxy is actually a great movie, and here is why I think that. So straight away, this movie is just great from character development, character plots, and many future plots that has been talking about, and that kind of develops towards the end of the film. So we start out with that fact that the Guardians eventually end towards the end of the film, and that it actually does or winds up the ends of the Guardians of the Galaxy very well. The Guardians of the Galaxy is wound up so well, and all the character and plot details actually end up so well that this actually makes every single character have their own individual depth to the story, and that each character from Rocket all the way to Mantis all have their ending and their good story that James Gunn has had in heart for them this whole entire time. Mantis's story has gone from being just the servant to Ego, or the daughter of Ego, to becoming the sister to Star-Lord or Peter Quill, and now she's going on her own adventure to find out who she is meant to be. Rocket's adventure, however, has actually gone from not being once called a raccoon as it is related to a vermin, to actually now admitting that he is a raccoon after finding out in the High Evolutionary's base, and actually thinking that he is Rocket Raccoon and that he doesn't need to run away from his past, and that this is who he is now, and this is what he has got to live with, and how his abilities from this can actually change the future of the worlds. Each Guardian actually has their own individual trait and their own individual plotline throughout this movie, and this actually makes their characters so good, and how we will delve into them in a future video. However, we'll now continue talking about why Guardians of the Galaxy is such an amazing movie. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is such an amazing movie because it has great plots and great cinematography in some places. The CGI is great and is above the standards of all the most recent Marvel films. James Gunn has made it so the CGI in this is actually very good, and I think this is probably where most of the CGI budget has gone throughout the most recent MCU films, and this is just so perfect for the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, as they've all had really good CGI and they've actually all been very stunning and very beautiful in their own kind of way. Character design is the next thing that we're going to talk about. Character design in this Guardians of the Galaxy movie is actually major, as it actually means all of the Guardians have actually found their own way to live, their own new style, and this has actually been shown on Peter Quill a lot, as he has gone through many different styles in almost every single Marvel movie that he is in. The style in the MCU has changed throughout Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This is very key, and this actually shows how they've all developed into their own character. For example, Peter Quill, he was always his own singular character, but he has actually changed his style a lot, as he is now more open, and as you can see, he's a bit more lazy with his clothing earlier on in the film, which I guess shows that he is still recovering earlier on in the film from Gamora's existence, and that she has died and come back and forgotten about him completely. This shows that his development has gone from remorse about Gamora's fate and that she doesn't remember him, to now accepting in the end of the movie. In Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the ending is actually wound up perfectly, as every character either goes their own way, either starts thinking about things that they'll do in the future, which rounds them off perfectly and concludes their adventure in the MCU. However, this may change as we go along. We might see more of the Guardians, we might see some more in some other TV shows, and that some of them are most likely 100% going to come back, as the title, the legendary Star-Lord, will return like it says in the post-credit scene. However, we do not know if this will be Peter Quill or if it will be someone else taking the Star-Lord title. Drax is now Drax the Dad more than Drax the Destroyer, which kind of ends his arc, as he has gone from Drax the Destroyer trying to get revenge from his family to now accepting his more soft side, and that he is more of a dad than a destroyer. Mantis has now changed from just being a servant of Ego to now being her own individual person, and that she is actually going to discover who she is in the galaxy with her 3 little pets. Rocket has now learnt that he doesn't need to run away from all of his problems, and that he can face them by himself or with the family and friends and the power of that. Kraglin has learnt that he doesn't need to focus on the whistling, that he needs to focus on his mind and how he's thinking. This comes through a emotional scene where Yondu teaches him partially through a kind of like vision about what he actually needs to do, and then he saves a lot of lives. Gamora has officially left the Guardians. She's no longer more of the Guardians, even though she likes them all. She's more of a Ravager, and she's found a family in the Ravagers. Groot has actually now become a full adult, and he is now massive, which you talked about in a previous short and a previous TikTok and a previous video about how he has changed and how the character he has become is so much bigger and potentially better than the first original Groot. Nebula has gone from the least favourite sister to one of the guardians, I guess you could say, of the new children of Nowhere, and that she is now practically the leader of the Nowhere region. If you'd like to follow my content, or if you'd like to subscribe, please feel free, as we will continue doing this content every single day, and we'll be doing this content for a lot longer.